They lied to you, and some fake misleading news that will brainwash you. Come closer, come closer. What a shame. Can you imagine that? For Gaza, it's a different story. The reality you will never see on social media, but nothing justifies violence. I'll show you how. Ukrainians are human, but Palestinians are not. It doesn't even make sense. That guy, he's not a normal person. Wait, let me shock you again. Even it's a bad weapon. What do you mean by cutting food and water and electricity? This is crime. Stay with Israel. And most of the victims are civilians. Poor you. So no, absolutely not. An idiot you are. I don't think so, because it's not in the Israeli propaganda. They kick you out from the land. Shamefully, they turned back. I'm only saying hypocrisy here. Hello? I'm sure you've seen dozens of videos and read so many articles about what's happening right now between Palestine and Israel. But the missing part of the whole story is just from one side of the picture. Let me share some facts with you today, facts that you might hear for the first time, and some fake misleading news that will brainwash you. Just like the recent news claimed that Hamas killed over about 40 children. Such as a horrible news actually, my heart is bleeding. But wait a moment, the whole story turned out to be nothing but just a lie. Admitted by the same journalist who published this story, and also admitted by the White House as well. Come closer, come closer. This picture was shared on social media by the actress Julie Cortez, claiming that those in the photo are Israeli children and were attacked by Hamas missiles with a caption, "A terror from the sky." It's actually heartbreaking for those Israeli children, but wait a moment and come closer. The whole story also turned out to be a fake news. And that picture has been taken in an honor school inside Gaza. Julie couldn't deny that, and finally, she deleted the post. Justin Bieber also shared a picture of a demolished city with a caption, "Pray for Israel." Matter of fact, the post of Justin Bieber turned out to be nothing but a fake news as well. And the picture was for a Palestine-destroyed neighborhood. And what was the reaction of Justin Bieber? Did he show up and apologized? No, he didn't. He finally deleted the post. What a shame.
Now, before we go, earlier on BBC News, we reported on some of the pro-Palestinian demonstrations at the weekend. We spoke about several demonstrations across Britain during which people voiced their backing for Hamas. We accept that this was poorly phrased and was a misleading description of the pro-Palestinian demonstrations.
Did I tell you about that post of Washington in one of its articles, which is totally true? The amount of bombs that Israel had dropped in Gaza in 1 week are equivalent or maybe more than those who have been thrown on Afghanistan by the United States Air Force for 1 year. Can you imagine that? The human rights groups and the human nations are officially described Gaza as the world's largest air prison in the world. At least if you are in jail, you have food, water, you have electricity, you have sometimes entertainment. And most importantly, you are safe from being bombarded. But for Gaza, it's a different story. Israel is cutting off resources, water, food, electricity, medicine. Bro, it's not a fantasy novel. It's not part of the war. It's not a playing game. This is the reality in Gaza. The reality you will never see on social media. This reality is ongoing for 17 years now. This mass prison populated by over about 2 million Palestinians, like me, like you, like everybody else, in a geographic spot that is only supposed to fit only about quarter of that number. I'm sure you'll say the most sentence circling on social media, but nothing justifies violence. You're right, violence brings violence, and nothing justifies violence. This sentence is always used when it's not in your side of the story. I'll show you how. If that's so, why the Westerners supported the Ukrainians to kill the Russians? You'll say that Ukrainians resist the occupation of Russia. Ukrainians are human, but Palestinians are not. Is that what you're saying? That doesn't even make sense.
There was one interesting message I saw in Telegram from the Middle East, by the way. They say if you cannot sleep because of Russia-Ukrainian conflict, there are some advices to calm you down. First, imagine that this is happening in Africa. Imagine this is happening in the Middle East. Imagine Ukraine is Palestine. Imagine Russia is the United States.
Have you ever heard that Israel since 2008 has waged 5 destructive bloody wars on Gaza? 5. And killed more than 6,400 Palestinians and endured more than 10,000 souls who were wiped out. And that number is just on Gaza only, without mentioning the West Strand. You might be wondering why Palestinians are attacking Israel, right? Simply because Israel are occupying their lands and insulting them and killing them with cold blood.
אנחנו מטילים מצור מוחלט על העיר עזה. אין חשמל, אין מזון, אין מים, אין דלק. הכל סגור. אנחנו נלחמים בחיות אדם ואנחנו נוהגים בהתאם.
Have you watched that video before? I don't think so, because it's not in the Israeli propaganda. And that guy, he's not a normal person. He's actually the defense minister of Israel. He's clearly saying like Palestinians are nothing. What do you mean by cutting food and water and electricity for innocent people? This is crime. There is an important question stick in mind. Why there's a resistance from the first place? White phosphorus is one of the international banned weapons. You will never tell that Israel is using white phosphorus on people on Gaza right now. Wait, let me shock you again. Israel has been always using white phosphorus on people on Gaza. Even it's a banned weapon. Amnesty Human Rights and other international organizations had accused Israel for committing war crimes in Gaza by using the white phosphorus on innocent people. And wait, Israel didn't use the white phosphorus on Hamas fighters, but instead they use it on heavily populated areas on Gaza. And most of the victims are civilians. Fathers, children, kids, newborn babies, girls, women. This is insane. The same international organization, alongside with others, had accused Israel for committing racial segregation against the Palestinian civilians. While always in the media, Israel had been described as the only democracy country in the Middle East. Poor you. So how can human beings with morals and conscience can accept the occupations, the colonizations in modern days? Palestinians for 70 years are displaced from their homes, their lands, stealing their houses, and threatening them with racism. Racism is worse and more worse than the South African apartheid. Well, is it enough? No, it's not for them. Raised wars over and over again using internationally banned weapons and detain them in the biggest open-air prison in the world. Would you like to live there? You want to experience it? You want a white phosphorus thrown on your body? I'm sure your answer would be no. Absolutely not. And if Palestinians fight back, for sure, Israel is not the blamed one. They have the right to defend themselves. But Palestinians? No, they have no right to defend themselves. Is that what you're saying? What an idiot you are! Palestinians have the right to fight back and defend themselves and kick you out from their lands. Most famous public figures and celebrities, they stood strong with Ukraine. They stood with freedom. They stood with justice. And most importantly, they were against the occupied. But when it comes to Palestine, shamefully they turned back. I'm only saying hypocrisy here. We all have to know something, that the Arab humans are not those humans that the human rights organizations and the human nations are protecting. World peace is not included in Gaza with her children. This peace never cares about the crying of pain from the children of Gaza. This peace doesn't know about the collection of graves that was buried in Gaza in the last 2 weeks. But this peace is only considered as a right for the Israeli to defend themselves. What a shame. Stop the war in Gaza. Stop killing children. Stop cutting important resources. Stop destroying hospitals. Stop throwing white phosphorus on innocent people. This war is not about Hamas and Israel. It never was, and it never will be. It's about nation facing a genocide. Don't stay with Israel. Stay with Gaza and free Palestine.